My name is Alina Dima, and I'm a Senior Developer Advocate for AWS IoT. This video is part of a short series of 2 videos on how to build an IoT application with the help of Amazon CodeWhisperer, the generative AI tool. Amazon CodeWhisperer is a powerful tool that helps us code faster and more securely. CodeWhisperer helps us ensure that we have less to type, generates functions and classes from comments, implements algorithms and writes unit tests, and also generates data, helps we simplify regular expressions, and helps us learn how to work with third parties in a faster way, but it can also document code. In this video, we are actually going to see how to get started with CodeWhisperer using IntelliJ IDEA and how to set up and deploy an IoT device policy, an AWS IoT rule, and a Lambda function action using CDK. If you would like to have a look at the code as we are going through this, please feel free to scan the QR code. So let us get started. The first thing that we are going to do is, in a playground folder of our choice, we're going to use the CDK CLI in order to create our TypeScript application. Run the CDK command to initiate our TypeScript application. So now that our application is initialized, let's look at what this has created. So we have all our CDK files and everything we need to start importing this project in IntelliJ IDEA. Once the project has been imported successfully, the next step is to make sure that the AWS toolkit, which gives you access to CodeWhisperer, is installed. If you don't have the AWS toolkit, you can get it by navigating to Preferences Plugins and installing it. As you can see here, it comes with CodeWhisperer support. Once you have the toolkit installed, if you go to Toolkit, you will see under Developer Tools the CodeWhisperer section. To be able to use CodeWhisperer, you need to have registered with an AWS Builder ID and have this ID connected. To actually create your AWS Builder ID and to connect with your Builder ID and learn more, you can use the AWS User Guide. This page is also linked at the end of the presentation, so you can have a look at how to set up your profile, etc. As a next step, let's navigate to the package.json of our project, and let's try to get rid of importing the entire CDK library and just import the things that we basically need. So to do this, we are going to paste the CDK core, we are going to be using AWS IoT, we are going to be using AWS Lambda and AWS IAM, which is going to help us set up the resource policy to allow for the Lambda function to be invoked from the AWS IoT service. The next obvious step is to run npm install. So now, as you can see here, the npm install is done, and now we just need to fix the imports and actually use the correct version for the imports. So the first thing that we're going to do is start creating our IoT resources. So this is a little bit too much, but this actually looks quite all right. So let us I think this is the closest to what we need. So if we take this, we can start and work on it, because this is, of course, not really perfect. So first of all, we don't need any of this. So let's see when it comes to the import. So we need to import, but we need to do it from the IoT SDK. So this actually looks good. And right now, let's see here what is going on. So we don't need any of this. All right, so this is basically all we need here. So now as you can see here, the suggestion is actually the stack name. However, this is not correct. So here we need to allow connections for a particular thing name. So if we look in the AWS documentation, we can already see that there is a section called Connect and Publish Policy Examples. And actually, Connect Policy Examples is perhaps a better document. So what we need is this particular variable that we can actually copy. So this is going to basically say that we are allowing connections only for the particular thing with the thing name. And of course, we need to escape here. And once we do this, this is correct. So we already have done this correctly for the connection. So now we need some constants for the thing name and some constants for the publishing topic and subscribing topic. So let's take out a thing name. So let's say that our thing is going to be called my IoT thing. Let's take a subtopic and call it, well, this is, okay, we can start from this, but I would go and say devices dot my thing name dot sub, for example, and now const pub topic. And this is already suggesting a quite good one, so let's take that. So let's go back to the topic and do the subscribe. So it is already coming with a good suggestion. Let's take it. We, however, don't need a topic filter because we have our topic without any kind of expression in. We only have one device. So let's see what it is suggesting for the publishing. So this already looks good as well. So the same situation, we don't need a publish filter, a topic filter. And what is it about the receive? So the receive on the subscribe topic. So this is correct. I mean, I think here, of course, we could go subscribe topic because it's probably better. And this is our IoT policy. So this right now looks actually quite good. Of course, it couldn't come up with it fully alone. We needed to help a little bit, but it's still looking good. Let's also, as a next step, we're going to have to create our IoT rule. So we can see here that CodeWhisperer has gone for a CFN, so for a CloudFormation construct, instead of going for the experimental CDK construct. This is okay for our particular example here, but of course, if you're coding for production, you should be careful that you use the highest level of abstraction where possible. For now, we will leave this, and we will leave this as suggested by the AI tool. So the next thing is that we are going to need to import the Lambda function. So let's import Lambda. Let's do what it suggests and import this. I mean, for now, we don't need runtime and code, although, later we're definitely going to need it, but we can import it as we need it later. So the next step is to create our actual Lambda function. So let's do inline code because this is faster for our example. So it is already making a suggestion here. Let's see what else it's suggesting. So this already is looking relatively good. This is a little bit too much for what we need. And this is Python, so we actually want JavaScript. It's something I forgot to tell it, but yeah. So I think we can actually work with this, right? So it creates a Lambda function, so we already see that we actually need to import runtime. So let's go and import runtime. We can import code again as well, so we can get rid of this. Not fully, but yeah. This was, of course, runtime. Apologies. Let's see what else, because we would like something higher. So let's go for 16. So here we would like to just print the event. So we are taking, so it's an async function. We're taking an event at the context. Let's not print the context. Let's print the event. But we do need to return exactly. So we need to return the status, and we could also return the, well, here we should ideally return our event. So this is perfect here. So yeah, this looks good. Let's see. So we've got a handler. I mean, I think we should call it index.handler. And we've got inline code, which looks good. We don't really need the environment variable, so we can get rid of this. But perhaps we could give it a timeout. So 30 seconds sounds good. We could even go for less than 30 seconds, but I think for the purpose of this example, we are actually quite okay. So now let's call the functions in here. So the first thing we have is Lambda. And let's see if it makes a suggestion. All right. What I did notice is that although we are saying that we're using TypeScript, it's a little tricky with it doing the return codes. So I think we should do that as well. So we could do that also for the IoT policy. All right, so we have created our Lambda function, and now let's create our IoT rule as well. So let's leave this first. So this will be create IoT rule. It does take our Lambda function as an argument, and it should actually, it's interesting that it doesn't really find the type. Yeah, this is interesting. In any case, oh, all right, this is because we have not returned our rule. So let's return the rule, because this is going to help it recognize the type as well here. Right. So one thing that we forgot to do is add a resource policy to the Lambda function that allows invocation from the rules engine. If we don't do this, then we're going to get an error regarding the missing permission for the rules engine to execute Lambda. Because of the way we structured our code, we need to do this in the place where we are creating the rules. So let's see if this works. So this is actually not what we need. So it doesn't seem like it knows what to come up with, but let's see. So our function is called Lambda function. So let's see, add permission. Let's call this grant IoT. Principal, this looks correct. Source account ID, this looks correct as well. And then the rule ARN, and this basically looks good. So we just need to import. So we don't have an import for IAM, so then this means we need to import the service principal from AWS IAM, and this is already looking good. So it is really interesting that CodeWhisperer has not identified how to actually do this, but it's okay. Sometimes we also need to think for ourselves. Yeah, and with this looks relatively good. Of course, because this is a live coding section, I'm sure that we're going to have quite a few issues as we try to run this. But let's see. I don't think we need the thing name here. So yeah. As a next step, we are going to try to build the TypeScript code and turn it into JavaScript and try to deploy it in the account. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is run the npm build. Okay, so we see that we still have some errors. So let's see what we have done. Oh yes, of course. So this error is because we did not import anymore the full SDK. So we got rid of a few things. So let's just use the correct stuff here. Right. Okay, so this now looks good. Let's try it again. Okay, so the second time it looks like this was successful. Now moving on, we are going to run CDK deploy. Okay, so let us run CDK deploy. Okay, so here we are running into the first problem. So it is saying circular dependency between the Lambda function and the IoT rule. So let's have a look and fix this. So create IoT rule. Right, so I can already see that this is actually causing one of the problems. So let us try this again. Okay, let's see what happens this time. Okay, so we have already the second error, and the second error says that there is a regular expression problem. Okay, I see. So the problem is that in the name of our topic rule, we have characters which are not allowed. So let's fix this and let us, of course, try this again. So I have paused through the video a little bit so that I don't waste anybody's time, but I can already see that this has been actually successful. So we have created our stack, all the resources have been created, and it seems like everything is okay. So now let us verify in the AWS account. So if we navigate to CloudFormation, first of all, we should be able to see our stack there. Right, so this is our stack created using CDK. Here are our resources. So everything is looking good. So to recap, in this video, we have seen how to create the needed infrastructure resources for our IoT application. So we have seen how to get started with CodeWhisperer. We have seen how to set up an IoT device policy, how to set up a rule, and how to set up an AWS Lambda function action all with CDK, and also how to deploy this AWS IoT resources. If you would like to have another look at the code sample, you can navigate to the URL link or scan the QR code. A very important aspect is that this video has been about showing how to use CodeWhisperer, and this includes the plus signs of CodeWhisperer, like supporting with code completion, supporting with generating code from comments, supporting with creating functions, and so on. It has not really been about the perfect code and writing the perfect application. So this was about showing how to use the support of CodeWhisperer. And this can be a quite powerful tool to support you in your day-to-day development experiences. In the next session, what we're going to do is build the actual IoT application. So we're going to do part 2, which means create the application code, which creates the AWS IoT thing and allows the IoT thing to connect to AWS IoT Core. And we're also going to publish some data, and we're going to test how the rule is actually invoked, how the Lambda function is actually invoked, and how everything works end to end. So join me in the next episode. Before then, I have pasted a list of references which could be useful for you to get started. To create your builder ID, you can follow the link listed below. To understand CDK constructs for IoT, you can also look at the available CDK packages on the page listed below. So this was all for this video. Thank you very much for your attention. My name is Alina Dima. I'm a senior developer advocate for AWS IoT. Please follow the follow-up part 2 of the video to test everything. See you soon.